Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me for another episode of The Journey. In this episode, I want to pretty much recap or, dive a little deeper into those last four episodes. During the time that I'm kind of giving these stories, I'm really trying to stay on track with the story just to kind of, give you guys an accurate background and an accurate description. So I'm pretty much going to kind of start off with, my introduction and, move into the death of my son and, continue on through the four episodes. One thing that I do kind of want you guys to know as far as the stories go is that by me, holding myself accountable for all of the things that I was doing, to other people as well as myself, is that I do still hold these people accountable for their reactions to what I was doing. Okay. And it's not to point the finger at them, but it is to say that we as humans, we all have a choice, right? And when things happen to us, we can make a decision to do a number of things. And so the thing that you choose to do in that situation is still going to be yours. Okay. So you're still going to have to hold whatever happens, out of that outcome. And so, for me, I really went in and started to see, who I was as a person after I made that conscious decision, to say that I'm going to be faithful. I'm going to ensure, that I'm not hurting people as I, go along in life, especially through having external relationships, having sexual activity, all those things. And so I really do believe that, by my wife not owning up to her actions, that she was actually mirroring my life and the things that I had done to not just her, but to other people. And so I really do believe that the universe, and also too, I want to talk about me saying the universe, right? The universe, in my opinion, you can say God, Buddha, Jesus, baby Jesus, whoever you believe in. But it is a higher power that is, dictating the rules that we must follow in order to get, the outcomes that we want. And so, of course, we all want good outcomes. But if we don't understand the rules, then when we move forward in life, we are actually, and are oblivious to the rules, then you're going to start to get results that you're going to say, wow, how did I get here? So, last year I was really able to examine my life up until, that year because I was able to, quit my job. And my job was really, really stressful. But the one thing that I can say that that job did provide me is it provided me an escape over the years of, being disrespected. So at work, I would be really respected. I was really good at what I did. I was definitely a very good people person. So I had really good soft skills. And I think that's really what kind of propelled my career at the last job. But it just seemed that the company had ideas, that they implemented that were actively going against the things that I knew would make a successful team. And so, by me leaving that place, I was able to actually see and have the time, to really go in and examine, how did I get into this failed marriage, and how was I able to stay these whole 5 years while a person, was actively disrespecting me and really kind of thinking that I deserved the punishment I was getting. And so when I meditation for me, so of course, if you don't understand meditation, the part of the type of meditation that I do is breath work. And so what it is that you get yourself to a nice calm place, where your breathing is normal and you're not controlling the breathing. and you're going to close your eyes, and then you're going to focus on the breath. The one thing that will happen is you will be bombarded with thoughts. Okay. You're going to have a ton of thoughts. And these thoughts are not to be, actively discarded. Okay. So when you catch yourself thinking about the thoughts, then you automatically go back and you focus on the breath. Okay. And a lot of people would probably think that you're not meditating, but you are. And the first part of meditation, when this happens, when you're doing that, is to show yourself self-love. Okay. So when it happens, I go in and I say, oh, I'm thinking about this or that. And let me go back and focus on the breath. And I don't beat myself up. I don't say, why are you thinking about that? You're not meditating. Okay. And so when I do that, I'm able to get to a place where it's really peaceful. It's really calm. And at that moment, that is when you can start to hear those soft voices, those things that it's telling you to do. And a lot of the times, the things that you do or that it's asking you to do are going to be the things that you find the hardest to do. Okay. And you're going to probably second guess yourself, but follow through. Okay. And this is also going to teach you how to have courage. Okay. Because a lot of the times, the reason that we don't make the right decision is because of an underlying fear. Okay. And if you start to question yourself and you start to ask yourself, why am I here? Why am I doing these things? Like, I don't like the outcomes I'm getting. And you start to really go in and find that, oh, it's fear. So like for me, when I ask myself, like, why are you cheating? Why are you out here having, all of this promiscuity going on? And for me, I went in and I found that it was the part of me that was really afraid to say no. Okay. And I started to find that that was actually impacting a big part of my life where I couldn't say no. I couldn't say no to, the sexual desires, the things that were, you know, pulling me towards them. And once I realized that, it really started to help me understand that as a man, because I can only really speak from a perspective of a man, is that sexual discipline is huge. That is one of the biggest things that we can do as men to better our lives and those around us, is to have that discipline. Okay. I also found that I would settle. And by settling, it's not to say that, I thought these people were ugly or that they weren't my type, but it's really to say that this is not the person that I want to be with. Okay. And so now I'm going to settle for this person. And in settling, we make attempts to change people. Okay. And that is also something that I learned, is that you can't change people. Okay. And so, to talk about that story where I was at that hotel and I let my friend use my ID. So mind you, just last year, I started really understanding that the people that were being attracted to me were actually conduits for a lot of this sexual activity. So a lot of these women I actually met through him. Okay. And that was the culmination of our friendship ending when I went to that hotel, and, the police were asking us who bought the alcohol, and nobody would say anything. And these two guys knew I was completely innocent. Like, I had no idea what they were doing until I got there. And it really helped me to see that, you can have people in your life that say they love you, or, that they're caring about you, but at the same time, are doing things that are bringing negativity into your life. And it's up to you to understand that. To this day, like, I still have a lot of love for that guy. I just know that I can't be around you. And so, in understanding that, I have to have some type of discipline, right? And I can't be the kind of person that I was that would say, oh, it's okay. Maybe you've changed and, give you another shot. What I really have to do is I have to stay very, very disciplined and move forward in my life regardless of how I feel. Okay. And this is another thing that I talk about in some of the previous episodes is that choosing oneself is one of the hardest things that you're going to do, but it is the most beneficial in your life. Okay. When you do that, when you make that hard choice, you're going to see that your life will then begin to progress. Okay. When I made that decision to be faithful and to be a one woman man, I was choosing myself. And this is why the universe decided to, make it, it looks like it blew my life up. But what it did is that it said, Jimmy, you've changed. And the people that are attached to you right now, they're still the same. And so now your eyes are going to be open to the incompatibility of this relationship. Okay. Whether it be my friend, whether it be my wife. Okay. And so when that happened to me, I was devastated. I had no idea what was going on in my life, and of course, right, I was the bad guy too. Like I had been doing a lot of stuff, and it showed me the part of me that really could not say no in situations where I knew it was beneficial for me. After I made that decision, I had a lot of regret about a lot of the women that I hurt, knowing that the things that I did, how it impacted them. And I started to also understand that, whatever I put out there, I'm going to get back. And so in the course of 5 years, I really feel like I felt every single emotion, every piece of turmoil that I ever caused. I felt that. It all came back to me. You know, I had a person who I had totally decided to be faithful to, who was totally committed to not showing me any type of respect. Not quite sure if she was even still faithful, even though I never found anything. You know, there's, suspicions of you cheating with the neighbor, so I mean, when I say like the lowest of the low, it made me have to go look and say, hey, Jim, what about the stuff you did? And that is why I say I attracted this stuff into my life. Okay. It's because of the person that I was. And now that I'm making a change, the universe is saying, hey, you still have to reconcile all of the things that you've done because I need you to see who you are as a person today. Because now moving forward, you can no longer be that old person because you're going to attract all that stuff right back into your life. Today, I actually find that my life is in a more harmonious state with what is conducive to me getting the results out of life that I want. Is that, I'm not looking to pay anybody back. Even though there may have been some resentment that I held, I worked on that. And part of forgiveness is that I have to forgive myself. And so, 2017, and over the course of those 5 years, it really taught me a lot on how to forgive myself. I went through a whole bunch of, like harrowing things during that time that really opened my eyes to how you have to go into your psyche and you have to ask yourself, why do I think this way? And you have to, keep asking yourself that question. Why am I thinking this way? Why am I thinking this way? And like I said, I had a real issue saying no. And really it was saying no to myself and not to other people. Right. And in an attempt to actually curve that, I would actually look back on things and I would say, where are some situations where, couldn't tell myself no. Right. And, I would look at my son and I would look at his situation and I was supposed to tell myself, no, that is not going to be acceptable. And you're going to have to go over there. You're going to have to, kick the door down, yank your son. But the positions that the universe puts you in is almost where you're going to inevitably have to reap some of those benefits. okay, whether they be good or bad. Okay. And so by looking deep into yourself, like I did, you can really make some really huge discoveries. You'll start to find that it's a lot of childhood trauma. It is a lot of traumas that have stemmed from childhood that have been placed on top of those traumas. Okay. And then you finally get to a point in your life where you want certain things. You want good things, right? You want your kids to be in a good place. You want to be able to have assets, right? You want to be able to live a peaceful life. And you don't want to always have this emotional turmoil going on around situations in your life. And even if you do, you want to be able to know that you have the fortitude to handle those things. So by me going in and, looking at some of the deepest parts of my psyche, I was really able to, come to a place where I really understand myself. And also, it helped me to understand how life works. Okay. In August of 2023, I had a surgery, and this surgery was to remove a benign tumor from my leg. And mind you, I had been feeling this lump in my leg for maybe about 8 or 9 months prior to me going to the doctor in June of 2023. And, this is a really crazy story because I actually went to one doctor, the first doctor. And when I went there, right, I told her about the mass and everything. She measured it. She set me up with some x-rays. And supposedly I was supposed to have the x-rays, and then they were supposed to schedule an MRI. And mind you, I didn't hear anything from this lady for months. And I never followed up. I just decided that, you know what, this is not a good doctor. Like, they're telling me things that they're going to handle and they're not handling them. So I reached out and got a new doctor. Now, to get the new doctor, the first visit, I couldn't schedule it for 6 months out. So I said, you know what, I'll schedule it. So I scheduled the visit. And in June of 2023, I had the first visit. And when I get to the doctor's office, she does all this routine stuff. And, they had drew blood already. And, she was going over all the test results. And then we was at the end of the visit. And she was like, is there anything else you'd like to talk about? And then I told her about the lump in my leg. And so she was super interested in that. That her eyes got super big. So now she's measuring it. She's asking me how long I've had it. She's asking me if any of my lymph nodes are swollen, and I'm denying all the symptoms. And so, she literally scheduled everything, x-ray, MRI, the whole nine, all in one shot. And so when I went to go get the MRI, I go to the doctor's office to go talk about the images. And I kind of feel like this is how they get you in there so that they can poke it. Okay, so they when I got in there, they pretty much are showing me the image, and they're pretty much telling me that it's not growing. Okay, so I was happy about that. But then they were like, we want to take a sample. And I was like, well, what does that look like, right? And so they pretty much numb your leg, and they just numb the skin. They made an incision, and then they have this tool. And the tool, right, they have to stick it in your leg, and they have to get inside of that tumor so they can get a sample. And my God, that thing hurt so bad when they did that. But I see why they told me, oh, yeah, just come down. We'll look at the images. Because if they would have told me we're going to poke it, I probably would have rescheduled that for a couple of weeks out. And so anyway, they found that the tumor was benign. So when they took the biopsy, they were like, yeah, it's benign. But we're not 100% sure that it's benign. But one thing we do know is that your body has stopped it from growing. And so they said, we'll know for sure once we take it out. And so literally my surgery was scheduled for August. I had the surgery, and come to find out it was a benign tumor. So I'm saying all this to say is that the type of tumor that it was that it was related to my nervous system. Okay, so this was like nerve cells that had overgrown. And mind you, from 2017 all the way up to like 2022, I was a nervous wreck. Okay, my job, we have audits. So it was first job, never had to host an audit. Like, and the company is like on your back about it. So I'm super nervous. Like, I broke out. Like, I had these like huge bumps on my head. Like, it was crazy. All right. And every night, all right, I would go home and I would just be combing through the phone. I'd be thinking about who she with, what she doing. Right. And like I said, I would look for stuff and I would be like like uncontrollably shaking. And so when I went to the doctor and they told me that, I was like, oh my God. And, the doctor says, we don't really know exactly where this comes from. And we don't know exactly, like how it got there. But what we do know is that it's a tumor. And so, for me, I have been doing all this meditation and now I understood how my thoughts literally impacted my physical, health. And that is also one of the 7 core reactions that you can have after experiencing infidelity is that you can have some physical repercussions. So in having the surgery, it cost quite a bit of money. All right. And I was like, man, when are they going to, charge me for this surgery? Like, I have no idea what this is supposed to cost. We didn't talk about none of the costs before the surgery, nothing. And so, one day I was, I was over at my ex-wife's house, hanging out with my son. And, she comes to tell me, she's like, did you know how much your surgery cost? And I was like, no, I was curious about that. And she was like, oh, yeah, it was like $100,000. I was like, whoa. I was like, they haven't asked me for no money. And she was like, well, it's all paid for. And I was like, oh, so that's some really good insurance you got. Now, mind you, I I go and, it dawns on me the next day and I'm just like, wow, like I helped her get that job. It was because of me that she even has this better job where, she was making more money and it was the job she wanted to do. And we didn't really even care about the type of health insurance she had because I had health insurance at my job. And, you get health insurance at a job, they charge you for it. Like, we more interested in you having the job you want and you making the money you want. And the universe just put this huge feeling over me to really show me that, like, Jimmy, this is who you are. Like, you pay for your own surgery. See? And I was just like so grateful about that because I was like, had I not told her, you know, that I want you to go get a better job, I want you to, get the money that you want to make and do the things that you want to do, even while I think that you're cheating on me, even while I'm upset about the things that are taking place, right? I'm still this person that has a place in my heart that I want to see everybody who's connected to me do well. Okay. And the universe showed me, like, oh, look, I'm going to bless you because, you are this person. And, I have a bunch of stories about, me saying things, having an emotion behind it, and me getting the result that I said I was going to get. It also showed me that I've always had this power, but I've always used it in a way that it's negatively impacted me. And so, to talk a little bit about that bad guy, when I was young, you know, not to boast or anything or, sound superficial, but I was a pretty handsome guy. Okay. And I didn't have no money. I didn't have a bunch of resources. But at the time, I'm really good at, talking to you. So I can really kind of, out compliment you. I'll tell you how cute you are. So I have a lot of confidence. And it is something that is now attracting women to me. And the part of me that's broken doesn't know how to handle this. And so therefore it's like uncontrolled, right? And so I have all this uncontrolled sexual activity, but the way that it's being played out is being played out through vanity. Is because I can't see the difference between a good woman and a bad woman because I think that the only reason you want to be with me is because I look good and I'm happy about that. Okay. And so I realized that part about myself later on in life that, you know, when you live in a place of negativity, like vanity, and that's all you're really concerned about is how you look, and you're so happy about that, that the universe starts to show you things and it wants to wake you up. And so, like, by the time I was 28, like, I was losing all my hair, right? And that didn't even stop me because, I just developed my charm even more, right? But the universe was really trying to show me, for a guy, when he loses his hair, you can kind of make the equivalency of him like losing an arm. And now you have to go back into the world and you have to try and compete with other men who have an arm, right? And you automatically have to deal with your self esteem and you have to really try to find a way to be okay with what's happening, right? I even went as far as to go to like hair club for men. And, I was in college and they told me it was going to be $10,000. I was like, oh God, no, I'm going to be bald forever, right? Because I'm like, I'm not paying $10,000. And then the process when they told me and it's not going to be able to cover it, I was like, no, 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 no. Right. So the universe was really putting things in my way in my life to actually show me that it's time to change, Jimmy. Okay. And that if you want to be successful in life and you want to have this peaceful life, then you're going to have to let go of a lot of these things that society has placed on you. And during this time of meditation, I'm coming to understand all of this stuff. And nowhere am I reading this. Nowhere is somebody, like giving me advice. The therapist is not talking about any of this stuff. And I'm just having the courage to move through the fear and to do those hard things. Okay. And so today, I really just wanted everybody to kind of get a good idea of kind of who I am today and who I've always been. It's just that, then it was covered up by a lot of the traumas that I had experienced, which I'm definitely going to talk about in the next episode, where, I've experienced a lot of death really close to me. My little brother died. He was killed. My son passed away. My cousin was killed. I had a grandfather die from cancer. I had an uncle die from cancer. I have a cousin that is in prison on death row. I've had friends pass away. So there's been quite a bit of death in my family. And I really do think that I've actually, impacted me as a person and how, a lot of these things have kind of played out in my life. And so I will be talking about that, but I'm really glad that I got to really kind of talk to you guys about who I am, what was going on. And, if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free, leave a question in the comments. I'll definitely respond to it. You can go to my Instagram, Mr. Know-It-All underscore okay. Reach out through DM. However you want to talk about it, let me know. And we can talk about it on the next one. Thanks again for listening. I love you guys.